Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 43 of the 40k Badcast. My name is Dan Boyd, and I am joined, as always, by the North Star himself, Cranky Megadoodoo.
I'm more of a fifth to the North Star man myself.
Oh, more like a fifth of North Star. Oh, I don't know. Is
nice.
that even
Got
a liquor?
Got him. I'm sure North Star is some like blindness-causing moonshine you can only get in Kentucky.
Perfect. Okay. How you doing? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. New year, new me, new you, new hams, new hobbies. It's how it goes. I am doing mostly well. I have actually gotten to sleep since December, so I'm doing okay. How about you, Dan?
I'm doing very well. I know that your last few days of December and first few days of January were quite trying.
Yeah, it was a lot of 10 to 12 hour work days and a lot of putting out fires where other people couldn't. And that's as far as I'm going to go with that one, on top of all the typical family holiday, yada, yada, yada shit.
Yeah. So we are recording this episode a little late because of all of Campbell's work bullshit and the whole holiday situation. So we're actually recording this on a Sunday morning. It's very rare for us to get up and record. It's more an after work situation. I think we've done it once before.
No, we've done it once before. It takes a lot to get me to get out of bed before the crack of noon on a weekend. So I'm so glad I could be here. But I've had like 3 of my morning cups of coffee, so I'm ready to talk about the silly game we love so much.
Excellent, man. Excellent. Okay, well, let's get into it. Let's start off with the Auspecs, where we talk about what's on our hobby radar. And I'll go first with some hobby progress. Mm-hmm. I finished the Wake the Dead Primaris Lieutenant, which I talked about last episode as a capstone to 2018.
Yeah. Did you get him done before 2019?
Yeah, I did. I got him done. Geez, I think I got him done on the 30th. Yeah, Sunday the 30th. And then on Monday the 31st, I was like, shit, I have a game against a listener, Mike, on Tuesday the 1st. Mm. But I want to have plasma sponsons for this one Russ. So I made another pair of plasma sponsons on Monday the 31st.
Jesus.
So I got a little more extra capstone action for 2018. But yeah, I finished the Wake the Dead Primaris Lieutenant. I put pictures up on my Twitter at DB_sleazy if people want to take a look. And it's great. It's better than the other Lieutenant, I think. It's got a little more bling.
Which other lieutenant?
The other Power Sword Lieutenant. The one that comes in Dark Imperium.
In Dark Imperium. Okay, gotcha.
It's got a little more bling. Okay, here's the thing. What I've decided with this lieutenant, because he's holding his sword aloft.
Yes.
The Gravis captain is also holding his sword aloft.
Aloft.
So if I'm using the Gravis captain, I've decided that I'm going to use the Dark Imperium Primaris Lieutenant with a power sword. But if I'm not using the Gravis captain, then I have room for another aloft sword going on.
The real pro move there would have been to play Blood Angels and get the Blood Angels one who's also holding his sword aloft and put them all together so they're like 3 musketeering it.
Looks like we're going to have to go back in time to 2017 so I can start a Blood Angels Primaris army and not a Raven Guard one.
About time you started one.
Fire up that time machine, Cranky.
Yeah, because that's what I'm going to use my time machine for, to repaint Warhammer models. Because what I need is to make my backlog count as double.
So yeah, and I talked about making the 2 plasma cannon sponsons for a Russ. Hey, those are good, except that the rules are still there. That if they overcharge, they kill the model. If you roll a 1 to hit. So
how is that not FAQ'd?
Yeah, it's I checked the FAQs for the Astra Militarum Codex and the rule book, and it's not, the language is not there. If you roll a 1 to hit with a plasma cannon on a Russ Sponson, it deletes the model.
That is like
when overcharging, that is. When overcharging.
Yeah, when overcharged. That is as grave and silly an oversight as the old, I think 4th edition or 5th edition rulebook, where in the back had a bunch of profiles and there was like Fabius Bike and Dark Lances were range 8, strength 36 inches. It's just like, this is like it's not that big a deal. It's a pretty easy fix, but it just hasn't been done yet.
It's not a big a deal. Yeah, well, like I have all these Russes and most of them suck right now. Because I have 2 Eradicators. Like Lima Rush, we talked about this last.
Yeah,
last
I'm not
episode,
going down that hole again.
But it's like I made one of them marginally better, so very happy about that. I also finished updating my Blood Bowl team, my orcs, the Red Fangs. I posted those on Twitter too. It really all I did with them was just sponge weathering with Rhinox Hide and Lead Belcher to dirty them up a little bit, and I'm pretty happy with how it went.
Do you sponge them with Rhinox Hide, then sponge them with Lead Belcher, or sponge with Rhinox Hide and then touch up around the little chips with Lead Belcher with the brush?
I just sponged them both.
Okay, because I found they're both good techniques, and if you're doing terrain, I'd rather just do double sponge. But when I'm doing models, I like going back in with just a brush to do the actual metallic part of that chipping, so I can get a little more control.
If I do it again, I think I'm going to do that. Mm-hmm. But this was my first attempt at sponge weathering. So I would just sort of like, I'm going to go for it. And it took me like 2 hours to do the whole team.
Really?
Yeah, it didn't take long at all.
No, that sounds longer than we've expected for sponge weathering, actually. I don't mean to
I was being very careful. Because these are fully painted models. I was like trying to make sure I wasn't getting shit all over the rest of the paint job.
That is very fair.
Yeah. So I took my time in on that. And then I started in on my 5th squad of intercessors last night, trying to get to 6. It's going to be more like 7.5 when it's all done, because I got to do power fists and some auxiliary grenade launchers after I finish my 6th squad, so I can have the full range of, intercessor goodness. So yeah, excited about that. Their intercessors come together pretty quick. They paint up pretty quick, and I like them, and they're good.
Cool.
And then, Campbell.
Oh, and then
we got one more thing for Hobby Progress. We did a Secret Santa for the Something Awful Discord. And I was sent from a goon called Pand in Germany, who sent me a bunch of orcs. He sent me the it was a great gift. He sent me the Citadel paint cup, which I've been using.
Oh, nice.
Which I like a whole lot, actually. I don't think I would ever have bought it on my own because, I own several cups. But it's actually working very well. I like it a lot. Then he sent me a bunch of delicious German chocolate.
Ooh, lovely.
Which is better than American chocolate by far and away.
Well, it contains a lot less wax than American chocolate.
Yeah, wax and corn syrup. Then he sent over a Def Killa Wartrike and a box of Grotz.
That's dope. That's all you need. That's an army right there.
It's extreme. Well, I already have those.
The boys from Shadow War.
The boys from Shadow War Armageddon. So I have now enough for a patrol detachment of orcs.
Nice.
And I guess this means I'm gonna start an orc army.
It's 2019. Time to make it 29 green,
Ooh, 29 green.
There you go.
Holy shit.
Is that the new thing? That's the new thing. We got it. Nailed it.
Wow. We're like 10 minutes into the show and we already figured it out.
We're like 10 minutes into the year and we already figured it out.
29 green. All right. Yeah, I guess I have to now, huh?
Dope. All right, cool.
Okay, well, I guess I'm an orc player.
I didn't know until now, but I've always been an orc player.
Oh, boy. Okay, what about you for Hobby Progress?
So I also
real quick. Sorry, I'm sorry. I just want to say, Pan, thank you so much for this gift. It was incredible. The box was great. The card was great. It was very thoughtful and lovely. And you're a real champion. And thank you. Please, Campbell. Sorry to interrupt.
Well, I also partook in that same Secret Santa thing. Well, a different version. More basically, I was like, oh, I'm sad because all these people look like they're having a lot of fun doing the Secret Santa thing, and I didn't think I'd have time, and I don't, but I want to try to do something. And Two Beans, also there, he was like, I haven't done it either. Let's just you and me do the thing. So it's a not so Secret Santa, but still definitely a Santa situation. So he sent me a similarly 29 green, the Megatrack Scrapjet, which is so fucking cool.
Yeah.
And I found that if the treads are on the front, it looks even cooler.
Ooh.
A little those pillows that are all sequins?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was in the top of the box, and there was a big orc face drawn on it, which got messed up the moment my cat decided to sit on it. But no. And best of all, a box of cookies, all shaped like orc faces, and they're frosted like orcs, and they have like the little like grumpy orc face on them, and they are delicious. So thank you, Two Beans, and also I'm gonna hit you up later because Anne wants to know the recipe for those cookies.
Nice.
Other than that, I've been getting a ton of hobby stuff done. Well, maybe not a ton, but I've been getting a bit. I finished the 10 Sternguard that I wanted to finish last episode for my Black Templars. And I've also just kind of done a lot of not finishing anything, but working a bit on everything. So like I built the 2 500th Store Lieutenant and also started working on him and the Ultramarines Conquest Lieutenant that I got sent that I talked about last week. Or last episode, just basically so I can get some space on my shelf. And I also built like the Space Marine Heroes, those little like blind buy box guys. Dylan had a spare of one of the sergeants, so I built him up as a Templar lieutenant because small Marines are where it's at for, my Templars.
Right.
And I've been working on intercessors and lieutenants, and I've gotten very far on both. It's just like a 5-man squad of intercessors, the same ones I started paying as Blood Ravens back in the day. But I haven't been able to finish any of them because I've been waiting for my Calgar Blue to come in because it's been so long since I painted Ultramarines that my Calgar Blue separated and dried out. So I just have a bunch of Marines at like 80% completion with a bunch of unnecessary freehand on them just because I wanted to do something, just hanging out on my desk. But I'm having fun with them. Like the intercessors, they do. I mean, I haven't finished them yet, but so far they've painted up pretty quick and they've got enough blank canvases on the models that I'm able to do a bit of that fun customization. So I painted, hot rod flames on some of them and checkerboards here and there and heraldry on all their kneecaps and so on. So I'm having a lot of fun painting. I'm looking forward to actually having models. I've had these guys built since 2017, whenever Dark Imperium came out. So for one, I'm happy to get them painted, but for two, I'm just happy to paint quote unquote modern Marines.
Yeah, they're fantastic sculpts.
Yeah, and these are just the Dark Imperium guys too, where they've got a little bit of muddiness around like randomly on their ankles or whatever, where just things had to be cut up for the molding, but they're great minis.
Well, we've talked about it before, but they're sort of maybe not under designed, but they're very subtly designed with their extras and stuff, and I think that's just fantastic. They're not crazy over the top like a lot of the Chaos stuff is.
Yeah, they don't have like Rob Liefeld pouches everywhere. They've just got like a purity seal and a belt buckle and maybe a pistol on their hip, and that's pretty much it. And no, they're great. They're a lot of fun to paint up, and I'm not saying anything controversial here.
No, if you want pouches though, the Reavers.
That's some like Cable versus Deadpool sort of pouch action. You just gotta model some snowdrifts or smoke over their feet to really get the Liefeld experience.
Yeah, so you don't have to paint feet. So fucking weird. All right, what else you get done?
For hobby stuff, that's most of it. I got a little bit of other ham stuff for Christmas. And gaming stuff, like I got the Fallout miniatures game because I'm really interested in just the figures, even if I'm never going to play what looks like a very complicated skirmish game. So I cleaned up some of those, and I also got Marnius Calgar and Chapter Approved 2018.
Primarnius.
Primarnius Calgar. Primarnius Calgar. Sorry, my bad. I do not mean to disrespect the enlarged man in blue. Got that in Chapter Approved 2018.
Engorged man in blue. Oh, gross.
Ooh.
They put new
Calgar.
They put new organs in him.
Did you just eat them?
New organs.
Well, if you have more organs, that means you're more healthy, so.
It's true. Primarnius Calgar and his brand new organs.
But hey, that does invalidate the old fanfiction.
Fists. Oh!
It does invalidate the old fan fiction that we got sent in where he killed himself in a Land Raider because Primaris Marines
now he can't fit in a Land Raider.
No, now he's the one who's locked out.
How the tables have turned. Okay, you play any games?
I've actually played 2.
What?
Yeah, I know.
Me too.
I mean, it helps when we spend like 3 weeks between recording episodes. It gives me a lot of time to play games.
2.5 weeks. So take it easy, fucko.
Okay. Don't get too excited. They're both games against Dylan. They were both Templars versus Orcs. They're both 1750, and they're both using missions out Chapter Approved 2018.
Wow.
So the first game, we played the 4 Pillars mission, which has, 4 objectives. And I don't really remember how that works. Just you get points every turn when you're on them or whatever. I just brought, again, top 4th edition meta of 2 Land Raiders. Holy shit.
Hey, Land Raiders, we'll talk about it in Chapter Approved.
We will.
Or in the section about Chapter Approved, but Land Raiders are significantly better now.
I both lists are me being very excited about points changes from Chapter Approved, but I just brought loads of dudes in Land Raiders, the Emperor's Champion and Hellbrecht. I'm like, I'm just gonna go real fluffy here. And it was just a 3-turn game. He just took kind of one of everything because he's excited to play with the new orcs because he's been painting up a bunch of buggies and a bunch of vehicles and all sorts of stuff. He even had this thing, it's called the Ruzbot. It's this scratch build thing that uses a Gorkanaut where it's just kind of like a mini Stompa on top of tank treads that he's had for 10 years.
Oh, so it's like a corn dozer.
It's like the corn mower, but a little less stupid. And also a little smaller. Yeah, it was a very quick, very bloody game that was pretty decisively in the hands of the Templars. And I definitely did that thing where it's like, oh, you want to use that stratagem there. You want to use that stratagem there. And he's like, okay, cool, thanks. And as a result, I won pretty soundly. And it was still fun, but it was rather short. The second game, we talked about building lists and sort of being more intentional with the units you choose. Because while I'm not great at this game, I pay attention. And this was a much, much better game. It was another Chapter Approved where there's 5 objectives that are just kind of spread out across the map, and you roll a d6 and that's which one activates.
Yep, I've played that one. And
I love this mission because
it's really good.
It's got randomness to it, but that randomness is mitigated a bit by good play and positioning. So all the objectives are valid and you're not just, sitting there with this swingy game. And this time I'm like, you know what? What else is cheap? Dreadnoughts. I'm going to take a bunch of Dreadnoughts. So I had a Contemptor and a Venerable Dreadnought flanking my Land Raider Crusader, which had all the Stern Guard I just finished painting, which were god-awful. They didn't do shit. They killed 2 Mega Knobs, then all got murked.
Nice.
But,
as is tradition.
No, as is tradition. It's their first game. It's supposed to happen. They're supposed to get fucking ruined in the first game when you field them. I blew up his Gorkanaut turn 1 because he took a lot of similar units because we're both kind of refining what works in this new environment. And
can the Gorkanaut get an invulnerable save?
Yeah, it can. He had his custom force field Big Mech hanging out behind it.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think the Morkanaut is the one that has a built-in custom force field. I might be wrong. I have not paid attention to what either of these units do because I just see it and I kill it as fast as I can.
Yeah, it's something big and you're like, oh, fuck that thing.
Yeah, it's like a mini knight, which I think is kind of cool that the orc version of a knight is cheaper and smaller and weaker, and that you would take more if you were to do a quote-unquote joust game.
Right.
But yeah, I screened my Land Raider Crusader with my Crusaders, which is, it would only be better if I had a Knight Crusader behind my Land Raider Crusader and my regular Crusaders.
Have triple Crusader action.
Or I allied in some Sisters of Battle so I could have their Crusaders as well. Yeah, he def rolled the Crusaders. I blew up his battle wagon. The explosion killed my Crusaders, killed a bunch of Stern Guard, damaged my Land Raider, killed my Lieutenant, damaged my Captain, damaged both Dreadnoughts, and also didn't kill any of his Mega Armored Knobs. So that put me in a bad position.
Yeah, that's every time something blows up in any game I play, it blows up right in the middle of all my shit.
Well, it almost happened again with my my Contemptor Dreadnought, and I'm like, you know what? I know it's the coward's way out, but I'm going to command point that explosion roll. I don't want to take out the other half of my army now that that first half has been blown up. Even with the masterful marksmanship stratagem, which is wonderfully alliterative but not that useful, and a captain, my Stern Guard killed, again, 2 Mega Armored Knobs, and then my Dreadnought actually did all the work. But the rest of the game was just kind of this dance around the middle of him not charging my Land Raider Crusader, where he went for my Captain and my Dreadnoughts, which suited me fine because it kept my Land Raider shooting. And it was just a lot of me choosing which targets to shoot with my Land Raider when, and just that kind of fairly strategic thought of being like, okay, this has X wounds left. I can deal X wounds with this gun. All right. And just splitting it that way. And by game end, at the end of turn 5, there was a dozen models on each side maybe, and most of his were Grots and most of mine were Marines. I came out ahead 15-14, and it was a wonderful game. It was an absolutely great game.
By the skin of your teeth.
Absolute skin of my teeth. And as of turn 4, I was down 8 points. I just racked them all up in the last turn.
Nice. All right, so I played a couple of games. My first one was my Primaris Raven Guard versus Scott, our friend Scott Horace Heresy, his Cadians. He took a bunch of stuff that he hadn't used in a while or even at all in 8th edition, and I took my post-chapter approved Raven Guard, and it was a great game. It was a lot of fun. We only got to play 3 turns because we had to leave the game store. It was closing, but it was tied at the end of that.
Not bad.
It was a 4-4 tie. We played one of the Eternal War chapter approved missions, and I'm forgetting which one. It might be the one that you were talking about with the 4 pillars. I think it was. But it was a great game. If we would have gone longer, Scott would have won though. It was he had a shadow sword. And he hadn't even used the shadow sword in 8th yet. He was like, "Oh, they changed it to 3d3 shots instead of d6." And I'm like, "Yeah, they did that in 2017." But
it must be nice to play to a tie against Scott Horace that doesn't go till 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah, it's true. It went until 6 p.m. and it was good. He's a great guy, so it's a ton of fun to hang out with him and play with him. And he definitely handicapped himself with some bad unit choices though, and it's. Even if he takes bad units, he's still a very good player.
Oh, yeah. And
yeah, and you kind of have to, if you're playing against Scott, you kind of have to be at the top of your game. Or distract him with whatever and then blow up his partner's planes and get everybody pissed off.
Winning strategy. Get mad, stay bad.
Yeah. But it was a really good time, and it was the first game that I had used the post-chapter approved points values for my Raven Guard. So I got a lot more Raven Guard. It's basically the 2,000 point list is I removed a squad of Reavers and added in an entire Redemptor Dreadnought because I had a bunch of points to spare, which was nice. And then my second game, I actually took my Steel Legion.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I brought my Steel Legion against listener Mike's Chaos and Renegade Knights. And last time we played, he had all Renegade Knights against my Raven Guard, and he just rolled me in 2 turns.
I wouldn't know what that's like. Yeah. I wouldn't know what that's like from the other side of that at all.
So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna fucking take it to this guy. I'm gonna get my Steel Legion, my quote unquote good army, and I'm gonna get out there and I'm gonna blast his shit to pieces. And that's exactly what I did. And then I lost the game because it was a Maelstrom game in the new chapter approved. And in the first turn, he got a bunch of cards that he could score immediately, and then I got a bunch of crap.
Yeah.
But that game was very good. Mike's a great guy. I learned that Helldrakes are pretty fucking gnarly. They can move 30 inches and then just charge stuff.
Jesus.
Yeah, so the first turn, he's like, all right, so my Helldrake's going to move 30. And I was like, wow. And then tied up a bunch of my tanks, which kept his knight alive for 1 turn. Though my Shadow Sword, it only got 1 wound through the invulnerable save of the Renegade Knight on the first turn. But I rolled an 11 for damage.
Oh, my God.
It was like, fuck yeah. Yeah, it was a good game. And I killed pretty much everything he had. I had a lot of stuff left over, but he had just got racked up a ton of points in the early game, and I was not able to catch up, so he won that one. But it was a lot of fun. It was a good time. And that's the second time in the chapter approved 2018 era where I've been kicking ass in a game and lost because of points.
Oh, no, blowing the crap out of your opponent and still losing the game is the Badcast signature move. I'm glad we can both master this technique.
It's a fun game because, the person who's losing all their models is winning the game, but the person who's losing the game is killing all these models, so everybody's having fun.
Yeah, and
it's kind of the perfect way to play 40k if you think about it. Oh,
completely. There's this tension also for the person who's running out of models or whatever, being like, okay, how much longer can I hold on? Just being able to survive a bit is no, it's great. You're right. That is probably the ideal way to play.
Yeah. In this game, I took a couple of tech priests also, and they were instrumental in keeping my tanks alive throughout the entire game. They are units. 30 points now. 30 points, and they can heal D3 wounds a turn, and they just sit back there. And if they have to, they can charge shit and fuck things up. He had a character run in and was about to charge a bunch of tanks and tie them up or whatever. And but I was able to heroically intervene with a tech priest to stop him from sliding into my tanks. And then the tech priest chopped into pieces with this fucking Omniscient axe in the next, in the fight phase.
Yeah, no, repair units are really cool. I've been using a Tech Marine in almost every game with my Templars, and aside from just keeping my Dreadnoughts, Land Rares, whatever, operational, and I've been using them since like the start of the edition because just straight up healing D3 wounds every turn is so much better than the old thing where it was like, roll a die on a 4+, one weapon destroyed, result is ignored, or whatever the fuck it was. Yeah. And yeah, I haven't had them... I mean, I had the Thunderfire Cannon Gunner when I played against Rob a while ago, who I interrupted with him, and he just wiped his squad of Chaos Terminators with the Servo Claws. That was awesome. That didn't piss him off at all.
No. Rob never gets salty.
Never.
Yeah. Hey, GW, Primaris Tech Marine when?
Oh my God. That's why I converted the Tech Marine I have for my Templars, because I saw how cool the Apothecary was, how cool the Chaplain was, how prevalent the Lieutenant was, and decided I wanted to make my own like cool character.
That's what we need more of. Primaris Lieutenants. I want more, goddammit.
Hey, wait till Adepticon. We'll be getting one then.
Yeah, that's right. We're getting a new one.
It's a really cool one, though.
Oh, yeah, in like 2 months. Fucking 2 months.
Oh, fucking 2 months. What am I even bringing?
Oh, my God. Okay, let's move on to new stuff.
That's for another episode.
And, oh, boy. So we're recording this on January 6th, and January 5th was kind of a big day for 40K announcements, or just Warhammer announcements, because they had a Warhammer World
flavors.
Open Day. So
all varieties of ham.
We've got quite a bit to talk about in the new stuff section, but let's go by game system, and we're going to start with Necromunda. Campbell.
Yeah.
I want to give you a heads up.
Oh?
On some new heads you can buy from Forge World.
Go home. Leave. Get off the podcast. You're canceled.
Oh, man. Yeah, new heads for every gang. And Goliath players get 2 sets of new heads. One with all masks and one with no masks.
But the one with no mask has chainsaw hats. I don't need more Goliaths, but I love chainsaw hats. My favorite old metal Goliath was the one with the chainsaw hat and the eye patch. Yes. And I can bring that back, damn it.
Well, Orloc's got new heads too. The pack contains 13 heads.
That's the weird thing. They're all a little more than 10?
Yeah, which is sort of like, come on, guys. Just make it 10.
I mean, you know what? I won't complain about getting too much head, all right? But yeah, I don't need more Goliaths. I really don't. But
I have 10 Orlocks I haven't built yet.
That's true.
And I have 5 Orlocks I haven't painted yet. And 3 of those 5, I'm going to pull off their fucking heads and put on these new heads because I want to use all 13 heads.
Get your money's worth.
Yes. So I'm very excited about that. And potentially even more exciting announcement happened.
I'd say far more
at
exciting.
The open day, and it's the Ambot is going to be released soon. And not only is it going to be released soon, Campbell, but it comes in a 2-pack and it's plastic.
And here you were last episode saying you think they're done with plastic releases for Necromunda.
Oh, I was wrong, my dude.
How good do those words taste as you're eating them?
Never been happier to be so wrong. Yes, these things look fucking fantastic. They look like
Absolutely.
They look like Gazcool, almost like in shape and size.
They're just so bulky,
with insect heads instead of orc heads. True. And if you haven't checked them out, go to Warhammer Community, go look at them. They look fantastic. I'm gonna get them. I can't wait to paint them. I'll probably paint one in Hulkamaniac colors, just for coherency. But I'm gonna paint the other in, I don't know, fucking fanciful colors and just fucking go to town because these things are cool as shit.
I was going to paint one like the Power Loader from Aliens, but also my Goliaths are already yellow, so it'll match them anyway.
Hey, there you go.
No, I had a really dangerous idea where I was like, it'd be cool if I did like an AdMech Beast Hunter army sort of thing, and I used these as the robots, the Castellan robots.
Trust me. Dude, people are going to be using these things. These things are going to be.
I hope they find their way to
amazing
other
bases for conversions, like a nasty orc war boss.
Oh, completely!
Like right off the bat, a mega armored orc war boss. You didn't even have to fucking do anything except pull off the bug head and put on an orc head, and then boom, you've got yourself a sweet giant orc war boss.
I mean, really, you just need to pop the head off and put on a Catachan head and be like, oh, it's Primaris Strachan.
It's Strachan, yeah. This is, this is
old Iron Body Strachan.
There's You know, we were talking about this a couple episodes ago, like the death of conversions people are talking about now. Like some whitey
illegal,
motherfuckers are getting on the internet and be like, oh, GW doesn't want you to convert models anymore. Mm-hmm. These things are going to be fantastic bases for conversions.
Without a doubt.
Giant robot bodies helps everybody. A rising tide lifts all ships, Campbell's. Campbell's? Campbell.
Campbell's raises all giant robot ships, yeah.
Yeah, so very exciting.
These are great.
Very exciting. And then in somewhat concurrent news, Blackstone Fortress is getting an expansion, including the dreaded Amble. Of course, the Amble is what the Ambot is based off of. The Amble is a large insectoid burrowing creature that makes it into a lot of Games Workshop novels and was a rogue trader miniature 30 years ago. And now they've released a bunch of them. Ambots and
much more dynamic.
And the Amble model itself for Blackstone is fucking amazing.
Yeah, it's really feast or famine with these Amble models. Honestly, the only thing I don't like about it, I don't like the little maggots crawling off it. I don't think they really add much to it. They just seem kind of like
I noticed those.
Fast.
I noticed those. I think maybe somebody saw like Cloverfield in the the modeling department over at GW and was like, oh, there's cool lice. Yeah, let's use them.
A hot 2007 film Cloverfield or whatever.
No, I think it takes some years to make. Well, okay, maybe not 11 years.
I'd hope it doesn't take them 11 years. Can you imagine, it's like they've kept me on the payroll for 11 years and I have it. My one model.
Well, I think it's fantastic.
It's a great model. I'll carve off the maggots, but I love the model.
No, it's the paint job they have for the studio paint job is really amazing too.
Yeah, it's very creepy. It's very organic, like a bioluminescent sort of thing. Model looks great. I really like it. It's creepy. It's cool. It has the spirit of the old one while being a bit more dynamic. It's great.
Got to get in on this Blackstone stuff. I got Two Beans, who you were talking about earlier, is local to me, so I got to get with him and play some fucking Blackstone.
I've got to paint the Blackstone models that were currently on my desk.
All right, let's move on to Blood Bowl, one of my favorite games.
Right.
They released a couple of new star players. Carla Von Kill, she's cool. Who's a budget human blitzer star player who's very good, actually. She's got a really good set of skills and is not going to wow you, but is going to be a consistently good player on your team if you grab her. And then they released Helmet Wolf, who
I like some things about his model.
Who he wields a chainsaw. And let's talk about this model. The Carla Von Kill model, I think, is very, very good. And if you compare it to the other human champions from Blood Bowl, they're not crazy over designed. Like Mighty Zug is basically in a tank top. Griff Oberwald has if you put the helmet on him, he's got a pretty ornate helmet and stuff, but he's not over the top or anything.
Yeah, a lot of the character comes through in their face.
Right, and Carla Von Kill is the same way. Helmet Wolf, however, there's no way around it. It's not a very good model.
His chainsaw is kind of goopy. I like that he is his belly's popping out of his armor. Basically, he looks like a model that's 80% there. It just needs a bit more to actually make it really work.
Yeah, if you and you know what, man, it might be a two factor thing here with the model. The body looks fine, I think. He's got a pot belly. He's obviously leans on the fact that he brings a chainsaw into Blood Bowl matches to be worthwhile in Blood Bowl. The chainsaw itself, it looks rickety, but not not necessarily in a good way. You know what I mean?
It looks kind of lumpy from the pictures I've seen of it. That's all.
And then the paint job they have for it that they do in the promotional pictures just isn't doing the model any favors.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's the paint job or the photo is just kind of blown out, but yeah, it's not my favorite mini.
No, I'm probably gonna buy it because it's completionist.
You got to catch them all
over here, but it's I'm not excited when I see it. I like the Carla Von Kill model, excited about that, but I'm just not excited about Helmet Wolf.
Well, let's talk about something that I find a bit more exciting, which is the crazy cool goblins coming out for Blood Bowl.
Yes,
because the pogo stick guy, he's pretty cool. The guy with the big axe and whatever the hell is on top of him, he looks like his face is great.
It's not an axe; it's a noisemaker.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. I don't know what he has on his back or what he's carrying around. That's the hooligan for the Goblin team. Yeah.
Okay, but I mean, the real star there is the guy with the goggles and the helicopter pack and the bat wings. That model is fantastic.
The Doom Diver. Yeah. So the Goblin specialists that were, they put rules out for him in a long time ago in Death Zone 2. and they didn't have models for them. Goblin teams are for the fun havers in Blood Bowl because they're not. Honestly, they're not going to win. They're not supposed to win. They're supposed to cause as much mayhem as possible while they're still on the field until they get killed. And then winning is secondary. Maybe you win because the other guy lost a bunch of characters or whatever. But so these Goblin specialists are fantastic. The Pogoer, he can jump over people. He can he's a great touchdown scorer and harasser unit. The Hooligan helps you in the fame. He gets more fame for you, so he improves your rolls throughout the game, like your kickoff rolls and halftime rolls and everything.
Support character, yeah.
And then the Doom Diver is specifically for throwing teammates. And he makes it so when you throw a teammate, instead of scattering anywhere, you scatter in one of three directions, but they're all forward. So it makes the one-turn touchdown a lot more possible. Okay. And it makes the other guy made a cage to protect his ball carrier. Well, I'm just going to throw this fucking Doom Diver at him, and the Doom Diver will probably hit him. And if that happens, the ball goes flying. Nice. So yeah, it's a very, very good little booster pack for goblins. But wait, Campbell, there's more. They released another troll model for Blood Bowl. Or they're going to release another troll model for Blood Bowl. Yeah. This time, instead of throwing a goblin, as the plastic troll does, I assume this will be a resin troll, but I'm not 100% sure on that. He has a leg, a human leg, that he's using as a club.
I'm not really a huge fan of his pose. All right, so there's something in animation called twinning, which you want to avoid, which is where someone's doing the same thing with both their arms because it looks fairly unnatural most of the time. And I'm getting that vibe from this model. Maybe it's the angle it's being photographed at or whatever.
You have to think it's Blood Bowl. So your model can't take up that much space on the board.
I guess that's true.
It's not like 40k or AOS or something where a giant troll can just sort of spread out on a large base. Blood Bowl, he can't troll spread, one square.
Okay, I guess that is true.
So these larger models, a lot of them are going to have more vertical poses like that because they need to fit in one square.
Yeah, there's a lot less
you run into trouble, like the Rat Ogre model from Forge World. He's like leaning over. That model causes a ton of problems on an actual Blood Bowl pitch because he takes up two squares. And positioning and where you are in the game is extremely important in Blood Bowl. So it's kind of that model's kind of a pain in the butt.
Okay, that's definitely a bit where I'm not as keen on the game itself, so I don't necessarily know what's up. I just can look at it as a model, and I like a lot about it, but I don't like. Basically, I wish the arm with the arm with the leg, which is a great sentence to say, was like swinging out behind him or to the side, and I wish his other hand was like open, so he looks a little bit more dynamic. He looks kind of chunky and two-dimensional to me. Okay, well, again, that might be a function of how they're photographing it too. Yeah, because we're really only getting one angle from this. Yeah. Now, the other big guy, he seems, I kind of got everything I need to know about him right away.
The fetid rod spawn is what you're talking about from the Nurgle team. He's a Nurgle big guy. And he's just like a slug man, a fat slug man.
He is a slugman. Yeah. He's disgusting, but he's very well sculpted.
He's curled around himself, kind of. So he fits into one square. But so that's not only is that a cool model, but that's a very effective big guy in Blood Bowl.
I'll take your word for it. God, that paint job is disgusting. And I mean that in a very good way.
It's very well done. That model's paint job, but it is pretty gross. So yeah, Blood Bowl gets a bunch of new stuff, which is always cool. Let's move over very quickly to Age of Sigmar. Just for a moment. I don't like doing this too much, but the Gloomspire Gits.
Please, it's pronounced Gloomspite Jits.
Gloomspite? Is it Spire or Spite?
Spite.
Okay, Gloomspite. Sorry. Gloomspite Gits coming out. And it's basically goblins.
Yeah, it's goblins are getting their own battle
tome. Night goblins, spider goblins, trolls are going to be up in there. And I can't play AOS.
I know you can't, but
I know it's also 29 green. Fuck.
The problem is also like you can't really you could, I guess you could take some night gobos and be like, oh yeah, these are grots in 40k. They're called grots now in AOS too, just because branding is what it is. But they wouldn't quite work since they don't have pistols or whatever.
No,
the whole new range is wonderful. And also, here's the thing: if you're gonna start AOS, I wouldn't be like, hey, welcome to this new game. Paint 300 goblins.
Yeah,
because they cost like a point each.
Yeah, I don't really want to do that either. But man, the models look so good, and the rules look like so much fun.
Yeah,
and
the fact that the squig hopper, the squig hopper knights are better than my Empire knights, and I'm not bitter about that at all.
Well, I'm very, very excited for all the greenskin players in AOS because that seems like a lot of fun. Yeah. But let's move on to Kill Team. We got two. Well, not just one, really. Just one box for Kill Team coming out. Kill Team Arena. Sorry, everybody. Kill Team Arena. Though we are getting another. There's two war zones coming through.
Yeah.
But Kill Team Arena is coming out, and it's specifically designed for tournament play. Mm-hmm. In Kill Team, which is honestly not something I'm interested in.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the like the pictures they have for everything is set up to be fairly symmetrical, and like when I think Kill Team Arena, it's in enclosed spaces, so it's kind of Zone Mortalis style, and all I can think is just like the Unreal announcer going like monster kill, and so on.
I get that Kill Team lends itself very well to competitive play.
Yeah,
and I know that a lot of people are going to get a lot of mileage out of Kill Team Arena, but that's just it's sort of out of my. I mean, we've both talked about how much we don't really care that much about Kill Team. Like I see it as I'm cool. It's cool. I'm glad it exists, and it's an opportunity for more cool models and so on to come out. And I like that. I just don't have that much interest in actually playing because if I want to play a skirmish, I want to play Necromunda. Right. As far as skirmish games go, Necromunda is clearly more our flavor. But I think that Kill Team has a cool place inside of the larger campaign.
Oh, completely.
But
completely.
On its own, I'm like. It's designed for like optimization, you know, and
as much as anything else is, yeah.
And
it's not as narrative as Necro, obviously.
Yeah. So that's coming out. They're having two new war zones: the Sector Fronteris, which I guess is supposed to look like the Wild West, and the Arena Interiors, which is supposed to be like the Underhive or a Space Hulk or something. But they have two new characters that are going to be for Kill Team and 40k that are pretty exciting. The AdMech character is called the Tech Priest Manipulus.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like a large fatman with a big gun. He's
very Baron Harkonnen, yeah.
Yes,
I like
floating,
him a lot. Yeah, and he's got like the one human hand just for shushing.
Shh. I'm about to shoot my gun. Yeah, he looks pretty cool. I really like how Games Workshop designers are leaning into the inhuman nature of the Adeptus Mechanicus.
But they're also leaning into just the weird nature of it all, too, because he's got like the whole distillery on his back and all that. Oh, I love him.
He's got like this big armored belly with arms sticking out of it. His like silhouette it's not a humanoid silhouette.
No, not at all. I don't even know what I'd call it.
Yeah. So very cool model, but a model that I'm a big fan of does have a humanoid silhouette, but with one extra bit. It's the Keller morph. He's a Gene Stealer gunslinger with 3 pistols, 3 arms and 3 pistols.
What if Gene Stealer, but cowboy? I love it. It's great.
People were calling him Gene Stealer McCree from Overwatch. Yeah, Gene Stealer cowboy or Gene Stealer desperado with he's got a little bandana over his face. Really cool model, very dynamic, and supposed to be like an excellent short range character sniper. Which is fun.
His special rule is called High Noon.
It's High Noon.
It shoots all enemies within 12 inches.
Yeah, he's really cool models for both of them. I can't wait to see what they do in 40k.
I want that Frontier set too because I really like it's based on the Rizza ruins, whatever. It's kind of expanding on that with not ruined versions of those buildings. You got this cool little like blockhouse and these little ruined floors for the existing ones. Yeah, exactly.
It's not a blockhouse, it's a saloon.
Even as I see it has the front and everything.
That's canon now. It's a saloon.
Fuck yeah.
Okay, well, let's move on to what we're all here for, 40K. And, oh, buddy. Oh, brother, we're out, thou. Because Gene Stealer cults just got teased at this open day. And yowzes, this stuff looks absolutely fantastic. They introduced, like, another 5 characters
Yep.
Including the Kellermorph Gunslinger. They've got I don't know what they're called, so I'm going to fuck it up. But there's the Lady Magus, the Cloaked Magus, the Voxcaster guy, and a Doctor.
Oh, you're also missing, was it?
Oh, the Assassin.
Snitch? Yeah. He looks like the Ratman one is, the Skaven guy. Yeah,
Gene Stealer Assassin guy. Yeah. They're all very like dynamic and cool, and like the sculpting on these things are amazing.
Of course. Well, the thing is, even the ones who aren't like quote unquote dynamic still have very good poses, because like the assassin guy, he's got what you'd expect out of an assassin. Like he's got the flowing cloak, he's got his hand forward, and he's screaming, which isn't great for an assassin. But most importantly, he has the tiny Gene Stealer also wearing the Sam Fisher goggles in the back, which is...
It's a tiny Gene Stealer with a tiny set of night vision goggles.
I really like that. I like that a lot.
It's very adorable.
And the Radio Man, like he was kind of like he's like spinning discs with his left hand while he's holding his own speaker in the right. His stance,
he's not standing up straight. His knees are kind of bent. So it's like he's like, riding a subway where he's like sort of bracing against. Yeah. And it kind of looks like he's in this weird action pose.
Yeah,
that nobody ever makes except when they're riding on a subway, because they have to brace from the stopping and the starting.
Or standing on a Manowar album cover. And the lady Majos, she looks dope as hell. I fully expect that head to be cut off and replaced with like a vampire count head, and her used in Age of Sigmar or some sort of Blanchett stuff.
The one thing about her, the model. Internet perverts were getting excited about that model.
Of course they were.
Because good job, 40k community.
Good job, internet perverts, for continuing to disappoint me and continuing to not surprise me.
Oh, okay. It was in like when they released it on Facebook. It was in the first 5 minutes. Somebody's like, "Oh, that chick is hot."
Great. Let's move as far away from that as possible and move on to the next model.
Thanks for your input, Greg with 2 G's. I'm making that up. It wasn't anybody.
It was probably Glenn.
Fucking Glenn's.
Yet to find a cool one. The one who's like, he's definitely holding the staff in the middle and looking down over his cowl. Like that guy looks super cool and very, again, like stoic and dynamic. And I just noticed the little tentacle kind of reaching out from underneath. That model's super cool. And then the last one is the one that they haven't pictured on the community site, but that you showed in the trailer, which was the one who was kind of like a mad doctor.
He's a doctor.
And that one I liked a lot.
He's a Gene Stealer doctor. And they also showed more pictures of the dirt bike riders and gave them names. The Atalan Jackals, which, like,
that's copyrightable. Yeah,
that is a copyrightable name instead of Gene Stealer dirt bike riders, which is better. Some Rough Rider joke somewhere. I don't know.
I'm disappointed that they made a dirt biker unit and didn't fit in the word extreme without E in there anywhere.
Yeah, and then they named the guy the Jackal Alphas. Which,
sure,
okay. When I was typing up my notes, I put Jackal Alpha, but then I was like, I don't know if that's right. I went back and checked, and it's Jackal Alphas.
Yep, Jackal Alpha.
Okay, well, thanks, Alf. But he's the guy with the sniper, the dirt bike sniper. Which
he's a character.
I mean, I guess that's a thing that you could have.
Hey, the model looks really cool, and when it comes to actual military units that have fought on motorcycles, they don't usually ride around with sledgehammers hitting things on their motorcycles. As cool as that is, they are not playing like gasoline-powered polo.
I mean, that's not entirely true. The Running Man is a thing that exists, and that one guy had a motorcycle with chainsaws on it.
Noted documentary, The Running Man.
You know that movie's set in 2019?
Blade Runner?
No, Running Man.
That's also set in 2019?
Yeah.
What a year it is that we live in. We've got a long way to go in the next 355 days or so.
That's my favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger movie.
I don't know.
I would imagine yours is probably Conan the Barbarian.
Conan the Barbarian is up there. Commando is probably it. Especially if, like, excuse my friend, he's dead tired.
Well, listeners, feel free to write in and tell us your favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. Sure, why not? I actually really do like the dirt bike models. I think they're really cool.
They're great.
The name is dumb, but I'm sure people are going to have a lot of fun with them. And then they also came out with new Gene Stealer themed terrain called the Tectonic Frag Drill.
It's continuing the theme of every army having a piece of specific terrain, which I like a lot. That's happening in AOS and 40k, and that's a really characterful way to kind of dress things up. And this is another one like the knight-specific terrain, where it's obviously a lot of 3D assets that were reused from the Sector Mechanicus kits, but with a big honkin' drill. And that drill also fits perfectly on the cargo hauler, like the whatever the little train thing is. It fits perfectly on those hauler treads, and it looks like a little termite when you do that.
Well, I think when they do drop the codex for Gene Stealer cults, I have a feeling that they're going to be one of the most annoying armies.
Oh, absolutely. It's just going to be playing whack-a-mole.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those things where they're going to have those like setup rules where it's like, oh, like Space Hulk, like blips or whatever you call them, where you're not going to know where anything is. Things are going to be coming out from everywhere, and you're just going to be like, well, fuck.
Yeah, but those things coming out from everywhere are also T3 with a 5-up save, so worse things have happened.
And so at the end of the day, for the open day, they but they showed one last model.
Yeah,
and it's a
they
sweet-looking, floaty chaos guy.
His name is like Hellfucker Dr. Satan. Like, he's fantastic. There are no fewer than 13 skulls on the front of this model.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Okay, so you know, we talk about a lot about model design on the podcast, and the Black Legion stuff that they've come out with in Blackstone Fortress, and now this guy. I think they're knocking it out of the park.
I think the difference between him and like Harkin World Claimer is he's a little more restrained with his flaming skulls.
Well, yeah, okay. He's like floating, and he looks ominous, and he's not like diving around with like skull wings and crazy shit going on. I think it looks fantastic. I love him. I get a Dark Apostle feel from him, like a chaplain gone bad kind of thing.
Yeah. And since he's not wearing a backpack or a jetpack, you're like, how is he floating? And he's just clearly floating on just dark energy or whatever. This model looks great. Yeah. I love him.
No, I'm super excited to see what they bring forth with the Black Legion stuff that they have like very obliquely been teasing.
Yeah, it was in 80 days. At this point, it's more like 59 days or whatever. If they do something new every 3 weeks, that'd be a cool way to tease it. Let's see how that goes. But yeah, if the rest of the Black Legion range looks this fucking cool, I may decide to paint more Black Power armor this year. So we'll find out.
Yeah,
next time on Dragon Ball Z.
It's really, really cool that that model. I'm very excited to see what they got, and it's cool that like Chaos is getting stuff. They're the bad guys.
Yeah, no, it's about time they actually maybe got a new troops kit. Ooh. I think my favorite thing is not just the breadth of skulls in him, but the depth of skulls, because not only are there like 13 or 14 skulls in the front, but there's at least 3 different kinds of skull in the front of him.
Some non-human skulls.
He's got some bird skull, got some like sort of monster lion cat looking skull. I think there's more skull in his hand. Skull's on fire, skull's not on fire. The whole gamut of skull.
Yeah. Well, that's new stuff. That's the Auspex. It's all very exciting right now, Campbell. 2019 or 29 Green is I think, gonna turn out to be a fun year.
I'm really, it's a good time to be a ham. It's continuing to be a good time to be a ham. There is a price increase coming for paints and battle forces, which is like, or start collecting boxes, which is probably going to be like 25 cents per paint pot, which kind of bites, and like $5 per start collecting box, which kind of bites. But with the pounds tanking and Brexit happening, I understand.
All right, so let's move on to We Make the Call. And before we get to the question itself, I just want to say we've got a ton of great questions in the email right now. So if you've sent a question in that you think is really good, like we've read it, and we're considering what to do with it, either using it for this segment or creating an entire segment from that one question that you sent in. So please, like, don't get upset if we haven't answered your question yet.
Yeah, some questions we've gotten are fairly deep and require a bit more thought and a bit more time than just a pithy response in this silly segment. So, yeah.
Well, I've actually got a very good question this time from our recent interviewee, Pete Dolan. So he sent us an email, which is, again, the best way to ask us questions for this segment. And he says this. My preference is for small games, usually 1,500 points, but have had plenty of fun with as low as 500 points. Small games lend themselves to weekday evening games and make it easier to pack and transport a whole army. I'd also often rather play 2 smaller, faster games with different missions in the time it takes to play one longer game. Several friends, however, don't want to play below 2,000 points either because they can't use their powerful toys and combos, or because they feel the game isn't balanced at lower points costs. What would you recommend as getting people to try smaller games? Are there particular missions you found that work well at low point levels without introducing army composition restrictions? Is it better to pick a mission in advance and let both players build for it, or have both players bring well-rounded lists and randomize the mission? Cheers, Peter.
I would say always do randomized missions. If you want to keep people from like tailoring and building the most powerful combos or whatever, emphasizing the idea of bringing a well-rounded force is probably better. But also, if you do want to try to fit in more small games in a day, especially when it comes to Peter in particular, because he hosts a lot, I would be like, okay, today we're playing 3 games. From noon to 2:30 is this one. From 3 to 4:30 is this one, or whatever, and setting a specific time frame. Because when you have a specific time frame put down, when you have a limitation set down, it makes introducing small games much easier. Because for me, I actually am very used to 1,500 point games because I have to travel for a lot of my games, and I've had to either walk or take the bus or the train to a lot of games, and I can only bring so much with me. So I don't usually go, let's roll 2,500 points up at the game store, because I don't want to have a baggage train behind me.
You don't want to bring your little red wagon.
I mean, I have done the baggage train thing where I have like a case in each hand and like a shoulder bag across my chest, and just be like, sorry, literally everyone on ComAv, I am taking up the entire 15-foot sidewalk here.
Yeah, this is a tough one, because when you start collecting an army and get it to the point where you can play big games, you want to play big games. You want to use your toys.
Well, I think also when it comes to big games, when everyone wants to use all their toys, by getting to play a lot more, you don't necessarily feel like you need to use everything all the time. Because like if I painted 2,000 points of Templars and I played one game every other month, I'd want to use all 2,000 points of Templars every game. But if I'm playing like 3 times a month, I'm like, okay, today I can use these guys and those guys. Tomorrow or next week or whatever, I can use this different list and do something different. So I think also having more smaller games spaced out closer together is probably a better incentive for not wanting to use all your toys all the time.
Yeah, I suppose so. I don't know how well that would translate into getting the rest of your game group into smaller games. I would, as flippant as it may be, like Kill Team is there. Like if you're
Kill Team is there.
Like Peter, if you're really trying to scratch that small game itch, then it might be easier to get your friends into Kill Team instead of trying to do like 1,000-point game, you know?
Or you could do, if you want to do like a game day sort of thing, you could be like, okay, game 1 is a combat patrol of 500 points. Game 2 is a 1,000 point, skirmish. And the last game is a 3,000 point game. So if you're getting multiple games in the course of one day, you can kind of scratch multiple itches that way. And it's like, yeah, maybe the first game won't be your cup of tea, but the last one will, or vice versa.
Yeah. Or like if you're going to run an event, like, bring a bunch of people over, so you have to play small games.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Honestly, most of what we're saying is make it necessary to have small games.
Right. Yeah. Like,
don't give them the option.
Yeah. That's a tough one, because I personally, I think 1,500 points is like the best level for 40K, because in any army construction, you have to make choices.
Yeah.
Whereas you can't just have everything, and you can't have all your great combos or whatever. 2,000 points is generally what the game is balanced for, I think, or at least I've heard.
Theory.
And that's when you can really get all the combos going for all the different armies. But at low point or lower points, like 1,500 points, I think is the most fun. But there are armies that are really good at low points. Like Imperial
Orcs.
Guard can still spread out and take the whole battlefield at a low points game. Knights, you can bring just like a couple of large knights, and then
you can play 1,000 point game with just knights and table your opponents and lose all of them. I wouldn't know what that's like, but
but that's the thing. Like you have to keep in mind what people are playing, what armies they have. If you are going to go up against a Knights player and you're like, oh, it's a 1,000 point game, you're going to lose probably, because Knights are hard to deal with at 1,000 points.
Yes, they are. And if it's just for like a one-off game, not necessarily game day, if you're just getting a game with your friend or whatever, you could just say like, hey, I'm very excited about this 1,500 point list I've built or whatever.
Yeah.
And just make it clear that you want to play that from the start. Because also, if you're starting a conversation with somebody, you can kind of lay down the groundwork for what you want this to happen.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's a tough one, but I think there's some points in there. if you can decode them, Peter.
About 1,500 of them,
All
yeah.
right, well, I hope we helped. Okay, let's move on to our first segment of the show, our first real segment of the show, I should say, where we talk a little bit about Chapter Approved 2018. Now, this came out a couple weeks ago and has somewhat revolutionized 40K.
Let's say, unlike the last one, I've actually read this one, so I can talk about it.
Well, there are a lot of good things happening in this book, and we're going to go through the types of play and the certain things that are in the book. And we're going to start with open play. Now, I don't really play a lot of open play games, but I do like the open play content.
Yeah. No, well, you've got the custom character stuff, which I'm all for. It's not balanced for match play, but for any sort of narrative play or campaigns.
Super excited because our friend Rob, he's doing a campaign that I'm going to be involved in because he's doing it in the New York area and the DC area. And he told us to make custom characters using the custom character creation stuff here. Yep. And I already have one and have stuff in mind for my guy, Shadow Captain Lanius. And it's going to be tight. I'm super excited about that. I love these rules. I think they're really, really cool.
My idea for this segment was going to be what special rules would I use to make Goku, but I would just use all of them.
Literally all of them.
Literally all of them.
They also have the orc looted vehicles in there for open play, which they're open play, but they're not broken.
No, they have power level points and they have special abilities and all that stuff. And they're all basically following the same template, just the same rules, just on a heavier chassis each way.
I would totally let someone play.
Oh, completely. I think they're going to see a lot more use than the build your own Land Raider rules because most orc players have something like this already. But the thing I liked about that is the conversion guide.
Yes.
It's a little odd to see it in what is essentially a rule book, but I would, if GW put out a book called How to Convert Citadel Miniatures done to that level, which is this very easy visual guide for doing conversions, I would buy the shit out of that book. I would love to buy that book.
Yeah. So the open play content in this book is really, really cool. And if you haven't picked up this book yet, it's got a lot of good stuff in it, a ton of good stuff.
Oh,
and we were just scratching the surface and we're already pretty excited about it.
Yeah. I was just going to say, when it comes to how people play this game a lot in their local groups, it's not necessarily just explicitly match play. It signs a little bit of a mix of matched narrative and open. A few things come in each way, whether it's how you play or what missions you use or what have you.
All right, let's move on to narrative play. So something that I've been waiting for a long time, battle honors. And it's leveling characters and units through a campaign. They gain experience and they get better through a campaign. And there's a mechanic for losing experience when the units die, which I love.
Yeah.
So
no, it emphasizes actual play. Yeah.
It's not just infantry units, but they have monster battle honors, vehicle battle honors, all sorts of ways to add flavor to the campaign that you're running.
It's a lot more fleshed out than the old battle honors from 4th edition or 5th edition or so.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. I'm going to be doing a campaign this year too, and I hope these make their way in.
Yes. They reintroduced rules for Cities of Death in narrative play, which are much more detailed rules for use of terrain in 40k battles. And
I'm really into it.
Yeah, well, a lot of people are. I am on the fence.
Well, so the thing I like about it is with a lot of the resources in here, you can kind of make the game as complex as you want or keep it as simple as you want. Because you could be okay, if you're on the roads, you get +3 inches to move. You get plus an AP when you're shooting above things. Or if you want to, you can just stick to the very simple thing of heavy cover, light cover, which I remember when we had Joe Capena on a while ago, we asked what is the one thing that you're not really down with in 8th edition? And he said the terrain is not detailed enough. And I still kind of maintain that terrain could stand to be more detailed. And this lets you make it as detailed as you want it to be, which is really cool.
I don't necessarily agree with that. I like the abstract. I like how it's a lot easier and you're not sitting there arguing over what's in cover or what kind of cover. I remember back in 4th edition where you had to keep your fucking dudes 6 inches away from a terrain edge so they couldn't be shot at, but they could still shoot out. That bullshit?
No, I'm not asking for that to come back. I'm just saying the difference between being in a bunker is better than being behind a fence or whatever.
The terrain, this ultra granular terrain stuff. I'm always so wary of it because I feel like it slows the game down. It leads to arguments, and like they're talking about obscured targets here now, which is more.
That's where you start to get a bit more
like line of sight,
lost in the weeds.
Shitty, and I don't know, man. Like I like that they're creating a rule set for the game that's optional that you can use to add a layer of complexity in, but man, I like the easy terrain rules.
And that's cool. Like, again, this is an optional thing. It's for if you want it to be. It's not part of the core rules, so you can keep it as simple or as complicated as you want. And I like that's giving you the tools to make this game the game you want it to be.
Well, what I need to do is actually need to play some Cities of Death with the rules with the missions and some of the stratagems and battle zones that they have included in this packet, because I'm wary of these new terrain rules and stuff, but I haven't used them yet.
Yeah, and there are new terrain rules for regular matched play as well, which we'll go into in a moment, where it's mostly just if you're charging through a crater, you have -2 to your charge.
Those aren't new. Those were in the last chapter. They're reprints.
New to me.
Okay, well, thanks for paying attention. Like I said, in addition to the detailed terrain rules, they include Cities of Death stratagems, battle zones, and missions for your Cities of Death play, which is all really cool stuff if you want to include that. So match play. Match play here, they just really added new missions. And the hallmark of these missions is that tabling your opponent is no longer an automatic win. And they have 12 new missions, 6 for Eternal War, 6 for Maelstrom. And I've played, 2 Eternal War and 1 Maelstrom, and they've been a lot of fun. And the whole tabling your opponent and not winning thing, I think is a great mechanic. You got to play the mission.
Yep. I think I'd expect to see that particular rule introduced to a lot of tournament packs coming up, or even for stuff like the Nova narrative. But I also like that they have that randomness that was already there, but it's mitigated. So like we were talking about with the mission earlier today, or the mission I played yesterday, where you roll and, maybe that objective is activated and worth more points, but all the rest are still worth something. Yeah. So it's not all or nothing. Or this sort of almost deck building mechanic that's been introduced to the Maelstrom ones, where it's like, remove 6 cards from your deck.
Yes.
And that's really cool. No, no more cast psychic power.
That is a really, really good mechanic in the Maelstrom games. And I used it actually for last time. Refined Strategy, it's called. You can take out up to 6 of their tactical objectives from your deck. And so you can't draw them. And that's for stuff like, the guy doesn't have any flyers, the guy doesn't have any psychers, kind of thing.
Yeah, great.
So
totally down with it.
Very, very cool there. And then they come into the appendix here, which gives rules for the terrain that were in the last chapter approved, but you didn't know that.
I did not. Some of it apparently is new, but a lot of it is.
Well, there's a couple of new terrain pieces that they've added since then. That they've put rules for, but it's a lot of it is reprints, and they have a picture of the new Typhus model in here. I just saw it. It's so shitty compared to the old Typhus model. I'm sorry.
I know the old one's way cooler. Yeah. But it's all right. It also has a bunch of the FAQ changes in print now, so minimizing CP farming, the psychic focus rule, boots in the ground, etc. Happy to have them all in one place, because for a moment there I was like, okay, how many things we need to print out before every game?
Yeah. All right, and then they move on and they give us the Adeptus Sororitas Beta Codex, the Sisters of Battle Codex.
Seems a lot like a finalized codex in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I mean, there are no new models or units in here. I think they're going to be saving those for when they actually release everything in plastic. But this is really cool. I have, read through it. I have never played Sisters of Battles. I can't even remember the last time I played against Sisters of Battle, probably like 4th edition or something. So I don't know if this codex is better than the index or not. Somebody told me that Celestine got nerfed big time, but I don't know for sure. But it seems like it is pretty good and can work really well. Seems like a very effective codex.
The Acts of Faith system is super cool. I like any sort of alternative resource management beyond just spending points on your army. So you got, that in addition to command points. The different orders, they have a lot of diversity and let you build a lot of different kinds of armies. So you can have one that's much more static and focusing on defense, or one that's much more aggressive and much more close combat centric. Like, I like that there's a lot of different ways you can build this army just from what has been there for 20 something years. And I haven't looked all the way. I've looked through the whole thing, but again, like, I haven't seen these things on the table, so I don't have that much context. But stuff like AP2 damage to Stormbolters might be a bit much. The extremist trigger word that's on the flagellants lets them go full Manchurian candidate.
Yep.
That's fucking cool.
Yep.
Stratagems that restore faith points with martyrdom is extremely fluffy and super cool. Turning Sisters Repentia into like mortal wound suiciders, also very cool, also very fluffy. Please give them models that aren't terrible.
The penitent engines can fight twice in each fight phase.
Yeah, Jesus Christmas, those are crazy cool.
They're nasty.
Like, there's a lot in there for how little there actually is, to build the army from.
Yeah. No, I would hope that Sisters players are happy out there, because this seems like some really cool stuff. They got 6 chapter traits or whatever you want to call them, or the different orders. The order of the bloody
martyred lady, sacred rose,
whatever. Yeah, and then they have a whole host of stratagems too, and warlord traits,
a lot of stratagems,
all sorts of fun stuff.
Again, it seems like this is a pretty good idea what the actual codex is going to look like. Yeah.
And then they have printed the Questor Traitoris, the Renegade Knight Index, I suppose it is.
It's copy-paste jobs for Imperial Knights, but with all the options of the different knights represented on one data sheet, which makes you think they could have just put it on one page in the Knights Codex too, right?
Yeah, but they don't want to mix. They don't want to have to, you're not going to put Chaos Space Marines and Space Marines in the same codex just because they have the same stat line.
I'm saying the Traitor Knight can have the Gatling gun, the Melt-A-Gun, the battle cannon, the chain fist, the power, or the chain sword, the power fist. It has every single possible weapon option for a knight that you would normally have is the Knight Gallant, the Knight Crusader, the Knight Halbaber, the Knight Palpitator, whatever. They're just all on one page instead of being on 12 data sheets like they are on the Imperial Knights Codex.
It's too bad that the Renegade Knight Dominus can't switch between the weapons.
Dual harpoons would be hilarious.
Dual harpoons would be hilarious and also very bad, but I'm more thinking of
I know, that's why I would rule.
Volcano Cannon, Conflagration Cannon.
Or double Conflagration Cannon.
Shudder at the thought. Yeah, so cool little throw out to Chaos players there. Give them a little love with their Renegade Knights.
Mm-hmm. Then we've got the 8, which is more like 8 pages of this book I'm skipping. Am I right?
Right. Yeah, it's the 8, which was a formation from 7th edition for Tau battlesuits to give you 8 battlesuit commanders and a couple of extra dudes or whatever. And
it's the 7 Samurai, yeah.
It's whatever.
Yeah, fine, whatever. I look forward to playing against that exactly one time and being very confused the entire game.
Yeah, the best way to deal with Tau is just don't play Tau.
Strong words that I cannot provide any rebuttal for.
Don't play against them. This is the most confusing data sheet also, because it's just also, here's 8 fucking profiles and then there's 3 pages of rules.
And you know what's all right? So it's the most minor nitpick, but even the letter spacing on the profiles is really weird. There's a lot more vertical space than I'm used to, and just everything's weirdly spread out and hard to read.
Yep, it is extremely confusing. But hey,
moving on to parts that are cooler, which is any other part of the book.
Well, the
updated data sheets.
They do points values, yeah. Well, they do points values first, and then some data sheets. Data sheets are simple. They add fiends of Slaanesh, which they're leather daddy centaurs, which some people are into, but me, no thanks.
Well, it's also definitive data sheets for units that appear in multiple books, so horrors and intercessors, which is convenient. Answers some questions about which profile to use, and also it sets a precedent that minor changes to the units like this can roll out outside of a codex release, which I like.
Yes, and intercessors get power fists now, which is very exciting.
Power fists and power swords, yeah.
And then the updated points rules, we're not going to get into all the different values and stuff, but my takeaways were that Marines got cheaper pretty much across the board. And then a lot of stuff in Imperial Guard got cheaper.
Yeah, my Templars went down about 10%. My Scions list came out to be basically exactly the same as it was before, because some stuff got cheaper and the stuff that got more expensive got just expensive enough to make the price the same.
Yeah, so I think it's a very, very good supplement to the hobby.
Completely. No, it's I will hesitantly say this because I didn't buy the last one. It's a necessary addition to any Warhammer player's collection.
Such an asshole. Okay. Let's move on. Let's move on to our 2018 hobby year in review. And I want to start talking about our hobby progress this year. And I'm not trying to get like super granular into how many models we did. Well, we can talk about how many models we did, and it's going to be real sad when I get to hear your number. like, how do you feel about your hobby year?
So my goals were to finish my Empire, my Templars, and I didn't do either because instead of finishing those armies, I started and completed another one for my Knights, and I just did a lot of Necromunda painting, which that was cool. Yep. But my Templars, I honestly mostly finished them. I've got like 4 vehicles and some random like one-off infantry models to paint for them, and then I'm good. Like that army is basically done. My Empire, less so, but almost 1 out of 2 ain't bad.
Well, I mean, you did finish an entire Knights like army.
Yeah, plus their loyal 32 and all that. So that was cool. Like, that's cool. I've got no complaints about that. And fun fact, most of those infantry models were supposed to go in my Empire army, so I technically painted part of my Empire backlog too.
That's good. Yeah, well, like, how many models did you do?
217.
Oh, and like, how many were Knights?
4 Helverins, or 4 Armigers, 1 Questoris, 1 Dominus.
217 models. Jesus fucking Christ.
Yep, I think 1 Land Raider in there. Maybe, just 1 Land Raider in there. Just a fuckload of infantry. A lot of infantry.
Yeah, I counted mine.
Oh, I counted each piece of Necromunda terrain, like each bulkhead door, each like glued together stack of boxes.
I didn't count those.
So you might actually be closer to like 60 or 70.
No, I'm at like 60 without those.
Okay,
so
all right.
There's probably like 20 or 25 pieces in there, huh?
Yeah, because like I didn't count every single like crate when I glued together a stack of 12 of them together as one model. But again, if one model is a Knight and one model is a Grot, like there's kind of some unevenness here. Like
I did paint an Astraeus.
It's like we talked about with We Make to Call last episode where Kevin sent his question where it's like, should I count it based on models painted or units painted? And I think unit might be the better overall grasp because like if you were playing Epic and you're like, oh, I painted 300 models, I'm like, cool, that's good work for an afternoon.
Yeah, but I'm actually very happy with my 2018 year of hobby progress. I mean, I painted a ton of Raven Guard.
Yeah, you did.
Like, I started in like I had at the beginning of 2018, I had like Reavers done, Aggressors, a couple of Intercessor squads, and a couple of characters, and now I have like 3,000 points of just Raven Guard, Primaris Raven Guard.
That's really good.
Yeah.
That's a hardy army, and that's 3,000 points after the points drop too.
Yeah,
nice.
I mean, the Astraeus is 700, so 700 like 30. So
wait, did the Astraeus get a points drop?
Well, the twin link or the twin las cannons did, so it got a 10-point point.
Finally, the Astraeus meta is real.
It's balanced now. Yeah, so I mean, there's that. I did Necromunda. I did 15 Orlocks in there. I did the Necromunda terrain. So for me, somebody who has to actually leave his house to go to work.
I went into the office once this year, I'll have you know.
Oh, wow, cool.
It was terrible.
I'm sure it was. So I'm very happy with how everything went. I did a lot of cramming, if you will, for Adepticon and Nova this year. Yeah, where I had these very ambitious painting projects that I got finished, but it's still like, I mean, it literally took a toll on my body.
Oh, completely.
Because I was, instead of doing things like working out and spending time outside, I was painting.
Yeah, no, the cram before Nova where I was painting all those fucking Knights in inventory, I was loving how much I was getting done, but that was not a great time for anything else, really.
Yeah, trading your health for models, huh?
Yeah, it's not really worth it because there's always more models, but you only have so much health to go around.
I don't know, man. I'm looking at the scale every morning and I'm like, shit, I got to get married this year. Got to look good in pictures. But then I look at my completed armies and I'm like, yeah, that's pretty cool.
Those are the pictures that matter most to me.
Yeah, it's a trade-off, right?
Yeah, I mean, everything's a trade-off. It always is. I'm my goal is I'm not going to cram again. I don't want to do that to myself. I don't want to do that to my partner. I don't want to do that to even my cat. You know, it was not worth it. All right, it was worth it, but I wouldn't do it again.
Like,
how about
before Adepticon, there was like probably 2 months where I was staying up to like 3 o'clock in the morning every night to just paint.
Yeah.
Just to get this shit ready for Adepticon. And same with Nova.
Yeah.
Like I think I finished the Nova stuff like 2 or 3 days early, so I had a few days of just like, I don't have to paint. This is awesome. But like, man, I painted so fucking much, dude. I edged so much. So much
edging through 2018. Yeah, no, just that month before Nova where it was like, oh, I'm not going to the gym anywhere near as much. I'm not helping with stuff around the house that I generally need to help with. You know, I think I still got my work done, so on, but just it's too much of a toll I don't need to take. I don't need that extra. I don't need the extra stressor in my life. This is a hobby. This is supposed to be for fun. I don't want it to stress me out.
Right. And now, like 2019, I definitely not doing any big projects.
I'm hoping I don't end up doing any big projects.
We'll see what happens.
We'll see how those Black Legion look in 2 months or so.
Yeah, right. Okay, so let's talk about our year of gaming in 2018. And it was another, I think, great year for gaming. I played a shit ton of games.
Yeah, me too.
Lots of 40k, a little bit of Blood Bowl in there, a bunch of Necromunda.
Nowhere near as much Necromunda as I wish I got to play. I pretty much just got to play the Necroslam Spa weekend, and I think a couple practice games with Dylan beforehand, which were, still fun, but I would have liked to play more Necromunda.
Well, I mean, 2019, man. 29
green.
Let's do it.
I'm pretty sure the Necroteens opened for Necromantics when I saw them a few years ago, but that's fine.
Who killed the cheerleader? You did. Oh, no. It wasn't me at all.
And we'll stop before the lyrics get really problematic.
They are extremely problematic, that song. I haven't listened to Necromantics probably since like 2009.
I probably haven't since October.
Do they still have like sweet fucking pompadours?
Yes, they do.
Nice.
They still have increasingly gelled up, increasingly obviously dyed pompadours, and they still play a coffin bass.
Yeah, those guys are starting to get pretty old by now, right?
Oh God, yeah, I think they might be about as old as Reverend Horton Heat at this point.
Yeah, but that guy doesn't like pretend to look young.
Oh, not at all.
He's just out there being like, check it out, I'm old, but I'm real good at guitar.
I'm just surprised it took Reverend Horton Heat like 30 years to make a song called Drinking and Smoking Cigarettes, since I'm pretty sure it's what he does every single day.
Who would have thought that this episode of the 40k Badcast would resolve into a psychobilly conversation between you and I? Okay, so 2018, I went to Adepticon, went to Nova, played a ton of games, played a ton of games with listeners. My favorite group of people to play games with. Like, it's been fantastic. I'm still bad at 40k, though.
Of course, if you were good at 40k, you wouldn't get to be on this show anymore.
No, I'd have to turn in my badge and gun.
Yeah, see, this is the year I tried to get good, and I obviously didn't do great since I kept tabling people and losing in the same game.
Yeah.
But it was a year where I did play a fuckload of 40k. Like, I think at post Nova, I definitely slowed down. I mean, in addition to real life just getting way too crazy for a bit, I definitely hit the burnout post Nova.
Yeah.
And painting so much ahead of time really contributed to that.
Yeah, totally.
But I didn't get to go to Adepticon this year or last year, unfortunately. So I just kind of got a lot more hobby done and a lot less gaming done. But coming up, I'm going to be gaming way more. So
yeah, it's exciting. I think that like 2017 with 8th edition coming out was fantastic. We revitalizes the 40k community.
Literal game changer.
And then 2018 is a whole year of 40k being played, of 8th edition being played, and
a whole year of good 40k rules.
And I was playing with Scott the other week, and some guy walks up and he's like, "Oh, I used to play, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, "Well, why aren't you playing now?" He's like, "I don't know." I'm like, "Well, it's good again. The game is fun again. It's great. It's a good time to be a ham, like you said."
Yeah, well, like when yesterday Dylan and I were playing, we are laughing out loud as crazy shit goes down, with like the battle wagon exploding and killing half my army and so on. And the thing I just said was 40k is good, guys. It's good again.
Yeah. And this was another year of friends, of great hangs at cons. the podcast and our listenership growing and people reaching out to us and getting to know us. And it's great, man. It's like,
and occasionally getting real mad at us. It was a wonderful year.
Yeah. Like socially, this hobby's getting better and better, I think, where, I mean, maybe it's just me, like getting older and being around more people that got a lot more in common with me because of this game, because of this hobby, and because of our shared interests. And it's just so cool that we have a way to reach out and talk with people and get to know people. I just remember at Nova, we had a crew of like 15 people at one point, just like hanging out in the lounge, getting drunk. It was fantastic.
Yeah, and they didn't know who I was, but they really liked you.
Remember Floor Boy?
Yeah, and the shirt I signed for him. Yeah,
and drew for him. Shirt you drew and then signed for him.
I created merchandise for him. Yeah,
I forget that guy's real name.
Oh, God.
Floor Boy.
Fuck. Yeah, Floor Boy is his Christian name now. Like it's
good old Floor
It's
Boy.
legal.
All right, let's talk quickly about 2019 and what's going on. Well, the first thing, 2019 with the podcast, we're still going to do it.
Yeah.
And we're still going to do it
surprise,
in this format. We are not changing anything.
Nothing is changing.
So good, I suppose.
Or bad, all a matter of perspective.
But I'm really looking forward to getting more games in. I'm looking forward to seeing what we get for new models and stuff. I know that there's going to be new Primera stuff coming out in 2019. Yeah. I'm excited for it. I'm excited to continue to meet listeners. I'm excited to go to Adepticon coming up in a couple of months here. I know there's going to be a lot of listeners at Adepticon. I don't know how we're going to have time to like do anything.
Dude, I've already have listeners asking me to play at Adepticon.
Yeah, I saw that, and that email didn't mention me once. So,
how does it feel, Dan? How does it feel?
I'm not used to it, so it hurt. It hurt me.
It's okay. You'll get used to it very quickly.
No, 2019 is going to be fantastic.
It's going to be great.
We got Nova coming up at the end of the year. Oh, real quick, Nova Hotel Block opened for people who didn't know that. So if you're, I don't know if it sold out. I don't think it sold out last year, but I mean, the hobby's getting more and more popular every year. So if you're thinking about going to Nova, register for a hotel room. You're not going to pay for it now. You pay when you check out.
Mm-hmm.
So do it if you're thinking about coming to Nova.
And if you've listened to the show for more than 5 minutes, you will know how much we fucking love Nova and how it is kind of the highlight of our hobby years all around. Yeah. So highly recommended.
Yeah. But 2019 is going to be great, man. I can't wait to get fucking into it and get some more games in. And Adepticon. Oh my God. I'm so excited for Adepticon.
I'm stoked because I didn't get to go last year. And last year I tried to watch live streams and so on. And all it did was make me very sad.
Well, you don't got to worry about it this time.
No, this time I am living the live stream. This time I get to be there in the room when someone passes out in their own vomit and gets carted off. I get to be there in the room when someone spills beer on my models.
Fuck yeah. And it's great because we were coordinating our flights and we get to basically meet up with Carl from the Independent Characters at the airport and ride along with him. So it's cool. I'm so excited to see that guy. I love that dude.
Oh, I get to get my rematch against him because at Adepticon, the first time I went, he threw down the challenge coin and we played extremely cool, extremely live, extremely good game of the Horus Heresy. And this time we get to play the perfect game. But that perfection has dulled a little bit in my eyes. So we're going to be playing 8th edition. I just don't know what army I'm bringing yet, but we're going to be playing for that challenge coin again.
Okay, awesome. All right, man, let's get to the end of the show here. And I think you've got a certain piece of fact or fan fiction to show me.
Yeah, I do. This one is it's short, it's stout, it's rotund, and it's rather hairy.
Okay.
What? Bawled Thrund Redbeard as he sprang from his ornately carved throne, scattering ale mugs and spilling their contents over the floor. The feasting squats fell suddenly quiet. It's true, Lord Thrund, by me father's beard, scowled the messenger, a squint-eyed, ruddy-faced, black-maned squat by the name of Honest Magam Magrog. Curse those damned greenskin scum, yelled the squat lord. He spat upon the floor in disgust and turned his sullen gaze on the silent squat revelers who had only a moment before been drinking, singing, and telling stories of their heroic exploits. Shall we muster the Brotherhood, Lord? Asked Dorak Ironhead, Thrun's most esteemed general and the only squat known to have beaten him in a formal drinking contest. Suddenly, the hall was filled with the clanking sound of weapons being drawn and readied. One squat, a little worse for drink, yelled an incoherent oath, and a couple of wild bolter shots rang out, punching holes in the grainy ceiling. Nah, groaned Thrund. It's only an Ark invasion, not the end of the planet. We'll give 'em a while to tire ourselves out, crossing the blighted wastes and chasing the chrome miners. The assembled squats nodded sagely at these words and began to fondle their ale mugs impatiently. The silence was quite unbearable, and the squats were beginning to feel uncomfortably thirsty. More beer! Yelled Thrund. More beer! I'm parched as a sand toad's nadgy bits. The massive squat lord waved his huge fist in the air and laughed loudly. For Grungni's sake, he cried, will someone bring me more beer? A massive drunken cheer went up as several ale casks appeared and the squats got stuck into some serious drinking. A loud and vulgar song was strung up by Dorak Ironhead, who is well known to have the best and loudest voice in the entire hold, and soon the ale was flowing freely once more. Tomorrow, they would march to war, and the orcs would regret the day they landed in Thrund's stronghold. Thrund raised his foam-flecked lips from his gigantic tankard and looked at his bawling warriors. He smiled to himself as he muttered into his ale, Those orcs stand no chance. No chance at all.
Okay. Well,
Brawling warriors, not bawling warriors. They were not playing basketball or crying.
Okay, well, you know what? I think that's fact, my dude.
That is classic squat fluff from around 2nd edition, and I think it's by William King.
Okay, squats couldn't die quick enough. What a lame group of assholes. Those accents, by the way. Didn't know squats were pirates.
I was like, what's a Scottish accent sound like? Oh, pirates.
What's a Scottish accent sound like? Well, I won't do that. I'll do a pirate instead.
Well, it's like, to go back to Overwatch, it's like how the dwarf in that game is Swedish, but he has like a dwarf Irish accent or whatever.
I think he has a Swedish accent.
His name is Torbjorn, and he's like, Torbjorn, the dwarf, and it's very not Swedish.
I think it's, okay, well, we're just going to have to agree to disagree here in Year of Our Lord 29 Green.
Welcome to the Fang Me, brother. Have a tankard of mead.
Well, thank you very much for that wonderful story. But let's get the hell out of here. But first, let's talk about where our listeners can reach us. Number one, contact at 40kbadcast.com. Send us your questions for We Make the Call. Send us pictures of the hobby progress you made in 2018. Send us pictures of your, I don't know, Christmas gifts or your pets dressed up like Christmas characters. Do it.
Also good. And if you have pictures of everything you painted in the year laid out all together, I'm not going to ask you to do that because that could be a massive pain in the ass, which is why I haven't done it. But you can follow Dan's example and do that and send us those pictures. We'd love to see what kind of stuff you've painted over the last year.
Oh, it'd be amazing. Yeah, I love looking at stuff like that. You can also get at us on Twitter. I am at DB_Sleazy. He is at Brother SRM, where we talk about things like, I don't know, I posted pictures of my models yesterday. It was pretty much the only thing I did on Twitter.
I made a couple really dumb New Year's jokes and retweeted some bad memes. So, you know, business as usual for me. But you can, if you want to go to famed not porn social media site Tumblr, cam2d.tumblr.com is where I post all pictures of my models. I've posted a bunch recently of my Templars, of my Necromunda weirdos, and so on.
And as always, we want to thank our supporters on Patreon, who are keeping this show going with their love and support. We have 3 tiers of support that you can go find out on patreon.com/40k Badcast.
Yes, you can. And unfortunately, we were not able to get an episode out for December because with the holidays, with my buckwild work schedule and so on, I was just too fried and was not available to actually record. So this month, we'll be releasing 2 bonus episodes, which means we need to do some scheduling, Dan, and figure out what the fuck we're doing that. So there will be a lot of good content for all you bad fucks out there.
Yes, and then you can also get at us on Spreadshirt, where we sell some truly terrible, super flammable t-shirts that you're welcome to purchase and then probably die in.
Shop.spreadshirt.com/40k Badcast. Do not wear them near an open flame. And I think this year I should try to make a couple more shirts because the selection we got there is looking a wee bit stale. Like after we perfected it, I didn't really know where to go up from there. So
I've been suggesting the same shirt for like a fucking year. The Edging Enthusiast shirt.
and I've yet to find a design perfect enough to get across that concept.
Okay, well, do you have a quote to send us out?
I absolutely do. My friendo, my Gruyere.
Gruyere? The cheese?
Yeah, Montfrere. I think I meant to say Montfrere.
Mon frere Gruyere? My cheese friend?
Montfrere Gruyere. Yeah, Montfrere Gruyere
Frere
is also my wrestling
Frere
name.
brother?
Yeah, that would actually be
My
good.
cheese brother.
New Patreon level, Cheese Brother. Fuck. All right, let's just get out of here. Absolute tyranny is a small price to pay for victory.
All right, Cheese Brother. We'll see you in the next cartoon on the 40k Badcast. What the fuck?
I'm gonna roll on down to the dairy and get out of here.
All right, adios, y'all.
Later.